Labour has shown that they get nothing when they're in power in Wales. Growth of the populist right is something that is threatening the fundamentals of democracy, I think, worldwide. There has to be one party that beats reform. It is Plaid Cymru that represents that in Wales.
Welcome back to my channel, it's Hugo Harvey here, and you're about to watch my interview with Plaid Cymru leader Rhun Iorwerth, who I speak to ahead of the May 2026 Senedd elections as he readies to take on Labour, Reform and the Greens to form the next Welsh Government. I hope you enjoy. I know you like the French football team, and there's going to be someone from the Basque Country here today. I was wondering, would you support independence for the Basque Country?
I believe in the principle of self-determination, and yeah, very much. Plaid Cymru has worked across Europe with like-minded people, stateless nations who want to be able to forge a future for themselves. It's something I believe in strongly.
And a lot of the UK establishment media aren't very sympathetic to Plaid Cymru, and I was wondering. I always feel like when you get challenged, there's an asymmetry because a lot of people that try and challenge you don't actually know much about Wales. Do you ever get frustrated with how little some English journalists understand about Wales?
Absolutely, yes. And sometimes it strikes you more than at other times when you speak with people who are in senior positions and have a very fundamental understanding of what's happening in one part of the United Kingdom. And I think it's really important that there is that understanding. And we've actually tried to make a concerted effort in the run up to these elections to speak with journalists. I think I have. The fact that I'm a journalist myself, I try to portray in as objective a way as possible the great story that's emerging in Wales. Plus, of course, I look from the point of view of the leader of a party that is challenging to lead government.
And now, ahead of the Senedd elections this year, one of the things that seems to be happening is that you've been maybe talking less about independence and more presenting Plaid Cymru as a government in waiting. And I was wondering, a similar sort of party that took that stance was Labour under Keir Starmer in 2024. Do you ever worry about downplaying your politics might actually lead you to maybe not be as effective or as bold in government?
I don't see our position as downplaying our politics in any way. I talk every single day about the need for Wales to do what it takes to reach its potential. Now, no, we're not having a referendum on the table in this election now. So it's in that respect not an independence election. But that's because I believe in the power being in the hands of the people of Wales. And the people of Wales will tell us when it's time. My job is to try to increase that level of confidence. I just don't think we're there yet. But we have that discussion every day on how we build our nation, how we try to untap our potential. And of course, in doing that, we look at those issues that matter to people day to day now, how we get to grips with the powers that we have, with the problems in health and education and creating a stronger economy and putting a childcare offer that will help people with the cost of living crisis. But put that in the context of, just imagine what we could do if we had more powers to deal with these issues. But there's the here and now too.
And you talk about this bold program, and you brought out, the 100 first days of office of Plaid Cymru, but the Labour government in Westminster might not actually be sympathetic to Plaid Cymru succeeding. What levers will you actually pull to be able to really get this stuff delivered?
The Labour First Minister in Wales will tell me publicly, what chance have you got of getting anything if I can't, and we're in the same party? Labour has shown that they get nothing when they're in power in Wales. So we know what happens when you have zero leverage of a Labour First Minister who's more interested in just keeping things steady and not rocking the boat too much within her own party. I think the transparency that comes and the greater honesty in having a First Minister from another party that will openly challenge constructive relationship. I want to have a constructive relationship with the UK Prime Minister, but it will be one where my loyalty to the people of Wales and my determination to get UK government to deliver will be uncompromising in a way. But I tell you this, Labour will have a choice. If they do get a drubbing in this election, as some of the polls suggest, they can decide and say it's me that's the First Minister of Wales. They can say, right, we're angry at Wales for rejecting us. We're not going to give Wales anything. Or surely they'd have to do what the sensible thing politically would be to say, right, well, there's something wrong in the way that UK government and the Labour UK government treats Wales. We have to change our ways. I'll negotiate on behalf of Wales to get a better deal.
And now your biggest opposition to get there seems to be reform. But you've seen that Nigel Farage would take away devolution at a whim, that reform are not interested in the Welsh language. But then why are Welsh people still considering reform? What's the attraction?
Oh, I think what we have here is a global phenomenon. The growth of the populist right is something that is threatening the fundamentals of democracy, I think, worldwide. We see it in Trump. We see it in Argentina, in Hungary. We see it everywhere. It's really important for us to not kid ourselves that this somehow isn't affecting us in the UK and in Wales too. It so happens to have a reform badge on it here, and Nigel Farage's face on it. It's really, really important that people recognise what that means, and it is not a project in any way, shape, or form that has the interest of Wales and the future of our nation at heart. And as you say, yes, they'll make the call now that they accept devolution. But it's not based on any loyalty to Wales or any intrinsic support for devolution. They will head off in a different direction at a whim, in the same way as they will privatise the NHS at a whim, in the same way as they will divide communities all the time based on pursuing their own interest of getting Nigel Farage and the right wing into Downing Street. We have to recognise that this isn't a Welsh venture in any way, shape, or form. And
when you position yourself in that posture of fighting off, on one hand, a sort of lame duck Labour government and also a threatening reform, the other party in another country, in England, that is positioned that way are the Greens. And after the current by-election in Gordon and Denton, that the result there kind of came out in favour of them. Are you at all worried, Plaid Cymru's first MP was on a joint ticket with the Greens. Yeah. Are you worried that they might now be your rival?
I don't see it in that way, and you're absolutely right. What we saw at the by-election last week was further evidence that the old politics is going, if not has gone, and it may well be starting from a lower base than Plaid Cymru in Wales is, but that maybe the Greens are making a real challenge in England. We'll see how that pans out over the coming months and years. I think people recognise that in Wales there has to be one party that beats reform. There has to be one party that is larger than reform in the Senedd. And as we saw in the Caerphilly by-election, which is in many ways was a precursor to last week's by-election in Greater Manchester, it is Plaid Cymru that represents that in Wales. And in the same way as the Greens told Labour there, you were risking splitting the vote on the left here and letting reform through. I think they'll be aware that there's a risk of that happening in Wales. People in recent years have become more in tune with the fact that these are Welsh elections. These are about a Welsh government, and I think those are themes that we will emphasise between now and May the 7th.
And my last question will just be about a Conservative peer in the House of Lords in 2024 got up and described the hold of Welsh language on parts of Wales as representing a linguistic fascism. And when you talk about that concept of Welshness and Welsh people, do you ever fear that promoting Welsh culture and Welsh language can be exclusionary in a sense?
And I don't at all. I was. Somebody came up to me just outside here. I was doing some research before the event I'm speaking at the LSE this evening, just on a bench outside here. And somebody came up to me. She was a young woman who was a student here, as it happens, and she was, oh wow, it's Rhun ap Iorwerth. She spoke Welsh, but she was from what people consider to be a more anglicised part of Wales, Newport, in the southeast of Wales, where Plaid Cymru actually held our conference last week. She spoke to me in Welsh as somebody who didn't think of the language as being divisive or belonging to another part of the nation. The Welsh language and Welsh culture belongs to all of us, whatever our own understanding is or our own ability is of Welsh. Plaid Cymru has always taken the view that we take ownership of our language and our culture, our history and our future together, united, whatever those things that differentiate us, and whether we speak Welsh or not, whether we're from north, south, east or west, whether we were born in Wales or moved here yesterday.
Thank you for watching my interview with Rhun ap Iorwerth. If you're interested in more of my content, check out my past interviews with people like Zara Sultana MP or Zach Polanski, or subscribe to see what's to come. Thank you for watching.